said, I beg your pardon, you have basically dishonored me. That's the second time. I am on and for the record, and I will complete my statement. And I kept talking. You just have to know how to handle yourself in court. And if you know how to handle yourself in court, those judges often don't. They have so much pride, so much arrogance, that they'll just railroad you and cuff you. But that poor girl showed legitimate jurisdiction.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened today because they had a meeting before we even got in there and had to talk about all this, we think, because the way they rolled over her and ignored her because she did everything by the book. We even cited the law for judicial notice and things like that. Judicial notice puts the judge on notice that he's not the one who's got control of the courtroom. And we even cited the law for it and all like that. And so they still kind of rolled over us, but they can do what they want. It's their room. So
that's right.
I'm not saying this to get anybody scared. I want people to know that there's people out here actually fighting for our rights. And we're going to make this is the most important thing I've done in my entire life. It's to work with this republic. This is more important than anything I'll ever do for the rest of my life because this is God's work I'm doing. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys and everything you've done. So,
and one last statement. When God's with you, finish the statement. When God's with you, finish that statement.
That's right. Even before we went into court, we said a prayer before we went into court.
And it was when God's with you, nobody can stand against you. Don't ever forget that.
No,
that's the most important thing. All righty, sir. I got to get on to the next call, but send me an email. Do you have my email?
No, I don't, but I'm sure I'll find it because I'm good friends with Brady also.
Yeah, go to the Republic of the United States website. Look under the contact section. I'm a California ambassador. My name is Kelby, okay?
Kelby, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a good evening. All right. We're going to bring on area code 770. Go ahead, you have the floor. 770. Can you hear us? We're going to move on to 812. Go ahead, you have the floor. 812.
How many 812?
All right, go ahead.
We have out there? Okay. My name is Lorian. I'm also from Indiana. Let me just.
Hi, Lauren.
Yeah, I have 3 questions. One is related to the IRS. Second one related to the Social Security number, and the third one related to the built-in inflation number. And I understand that, in effect, you've actually addressed at least part, if not these questions, but I just want to get it off my mind, and perhaps my rewording might enable someone else's thinking. The first one is that before I became involved with your group, I made the personal determination to challenge the IRS, and it's reached a point where I am now scheduled for a court day in April. But to turn this into the question, is there any glimmerings of a procedures in place yet or fleshed out to any degree how we would address the IRS? Let me just briefly say that I've also discovered another program called SEDM. I have downloaded forms to literally rescind my Social Security number and all of my contracts with the U.S. corporation, but that's not within our range here of this conversation, so I won't go off on that tangent. Second one is the Social Security number, which is
to address what you just said. You took an important first step. Okay. When a criminal judge looks at a federal matter like an IRS issue, they go to and you just need to know this, they go to your bank and they ask for a copy of your signature card so they can keep it on file. A signature card basically says on it that you agree to the rules and regulations of the United States Treasury, which coincides with the IRS. So one of the things you should consider is if you have an account open with a Social Security number, that you immediately revoke that account, close it down, because that's their jurisdiction.
I did request
Okay.
a copy of my original application for my Social Security number, and it just happens that the timing right now is such that I was midstream for submitting, making the notifications as you just advised. So thank you for that.
Well, let me take a step back. I think you misunderstood me. Your bank account is what gives them jurisdiction. You need to close a bank account if your social is on your bank account.
Actually close the account, not just notify them that they had a fraudulent contract?
No, notice doesn't bring you into a new contract, okay? When like with the Tim Turner process, the Tim Turner documents, when you file something into the public, you're actually making a new contract, and that's a part of it. But you got to deal with your existing contracts to some degree, and Tim Turner process does that, but it doesn't necessarily help you out on their jurisdictional right. See, in a Tim Turner process, you're basically saying I'm the trustee of the trust, and that you are now handling the trust. And so there's a lot of people going, what are you talking about, trustee of the trust? Your all capital letter name on your driver's license is a trust. It's called an Allegiance Trust. And that's how they get jurisdiction over you, because a corporation can't bring somebody into court and basically go after a real living human being. They don't have jurisdiction, but they have jurisdiction over a corporation. And people are going, what do you mean a corporation? Well, a trust is a corporation, and that all capital letter name is a trust. So you need to cancel all contracts. If you want a new bank account, go get one without a social. Go figure it out. There's all kinds of remedies out there where you can open up a bank account without putting your social on. Don't send me 1,000 emails asking me how. There's people out there that'll help you. That I don't necessarily want to answer that question. But you can absolutely get a bank account without a social. That will keep you out of their jurisdiction, because you're basically saying, I am not that Allegiance Trust holding that bank account with that tax ID number under your Treasury federal jurisdiction. And so that contract is canceled. Will they still try to come after you? Well, there's also remedies that we have. But you said you were in the Republic of New York, is that correct?
No, I'm in Indiana, and I've not yet submitted my papers, but just to take opportunity for this brief interlude, that would be a question I hadn't thought of before you began to answer, is that would we be able to use our Republic ID in any manner when we open new accounts without Social Security, or correct existing accounts?
Well, I took my Republic ID and I did a test, and this is something I don't want people to start frowning. When we developed our Republic ID, that was step one. There's 20 more steps that we need to do. Notice we got to start making these banks understand that we are, who we are. But when I walked into Wells Fargo to cash a simple little check the other day, I handed them my state citizen identification, and I handed them my American national identification, and I played the waiting game. They looked at me, and it was on. It was funny. The bottom line was they told me they couldn't cash my checks. And I stood up and I said, I'm giving you lawful identification. She said, yes, but it's not identification in the United States book of proper identification. So there's things that we got to do. We just gave our identifications out to its first few people over Christmas. Now we got to make notice. And now we got to get people familiar. I didn't test her out. I didn't say, you have to, and pointed at her and tapped her on the forehead. I didn't do none of that. I was very nice. I said, I'm the California ambassador for the Republic for the United States of America, and this is going to be something you're going to start seeing a lot of. The bottom line is this is going to be a tremendous growth curve and learning experience for everybody. So you might find a bank that will accept your ID. You might not. I don't know, sir. I really don't. But right now that ID is mainly for identification purposes and travel purposes. And we're going to have to get these IDs working all the way across the board. But this is starting to become very, very exciting. But we're going to be bringing on people, and you're going to hear a lot of testimonies, good and bad. I got to tell you, whether you have an idea or not, that doesn't get you out of trouble necessarily. It's how you handle yourself still, and that's the part of what I said earlier on the beginning of the phone call. It's a learning experience and how not to acquiesce. You can be flipping through your ID and give him your ID, and he'll see a California driver's license right behind that. Oops, jurisdiction. Or you might be driving. Now, listen to me. Really, everybody, there's 500-plus people on the call right now. Listen. If you're driving a car that's registered in your name, jurisdiction, you're giving them jurisdiction. Period. License and registration, please. Well, I personally don't travel in a car registered in my name, registered in an LLC, registered in a family member that doesn't want to come into the Republic, registered in a friend's name that doesn't come into the Republic. It doesn't give them jurisdiction. There's so much that we need to learn in this red pill we took. It's just hard. But when you get pulled over, you don't hand them registration with all capital letter names on it, between you and the Department of Motor Vehicles contract, and then you hand them your Republic ID. It's not going to work. They're going to have jurisdiction, and they're going to fight you. Okay? Now listen. When you hand them that ID, let's talk about the scenarios. They're going to run you. They're going to find out maybe that you have a valid license or a suspended license or a revoked license or no license. Okay? They might write you a ticket. Listen, don't refuse signing the ticket. Sign the ticket and write on the ticket underneath your signature, without prejudice, UCC 1-308. All rights reserved. Or you can do all rights reserved, UCC 1-308, without prejudice. Do it either way. You're invoking something there, and within 3 days you can cancel that ticket, but you don't get arrested for not handing them no license, and you don't get arrested for not signing the ticket. Stop and realize who you're talking to. You're talking to a cop that's been educated in penal code, in statutes, not law. They don't understand. They were telling me that's the law. I'm like, no, that's penal code. They said, no, penal code is law. I'm like, no, it's not. And they're going back and forth. So there's so much over and above getting these IDs that we have to teach. It's not just handing an ID and hoping for the best. You got to have your ducks lined up all the way down to no name, no social on a bank account, because that's their jurisdiction under federal cases. So just FYI. You had a second question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That's all of it is pertinent. And just a quick aside, I did send you an email. I sent an email to Ambassador in Indiana, and I know you're buried, so it might be. I have no idea how far down your list, but for what it's worth. Volunteering my services if I can be of service, and I gave you links to my resume, to my social account. And
Thank
so
you.
forth. You can discover me.
Thank you. Have you made contact with the governor or the ambassador in Indiana?
Not yet. I have to submit my papers. I don't know who that person is yet, so but that is on my immediate to-do list. You know how it is when it rains at port. I got several things going on simultaneously. I reached quote unquote the retirement age last year. I have always intended to quote not retire, but looking at circumstances the way they are, I'm trying to be flexible. Have a plan to be flexible, and so I'm now I'm a contract engineer, aerospace engineer, and I'm not accepting new contracts just because of the complications of the matter. I have made my personal determination that I will to avail myself of the kind of advice you just given and others have given very similar. You did fill in some blank spaces for me, though. Thank you for that. So my second question was actually I think you've covered it. It's the Social Security number. Briefly, one of the documents that I intend to submit, I have to update because we've had like 60 plus representative names change, and it's an 80-page document, and it would.